So we know it was worth a total of 29 points. Keyword translate for number 1. What does that mean? What's the definition? It is a slide. I'll be focusing on definitions a lot because you'll have definitions on your test as well. So I'm sliding it 3 in which direction? Which way? And 6? Just kind of estimate it because you couldn't really see the lines. 1, 2, 3, and 6 up. B what? Prime, good. C prime and then A prime. That one was worth 2 points. It was 1 point for doing it correctly, 1 point for labeling. I've said it from the beginning, we need to make sure we are labeling. Any questions? Number 2, write the rule for the translation. Which one is my start? Top or bottom? What do we call the start?
The pre-image.
Pre-image. They use the word input. You can write all over these quizzes. They are yours to keep. Write anything you need to write. What do we call this one here? This was the finish. It was your image or your output. Next up, it wants it in coordinate notation. That says x comma y is mapped to -2 in the x, -3 in the y. Once again, I stated before, if you put the wrong way, it's wrong. Put the wrong notation. Many people put vector notation because that's an easier one, but you must put what it's asking for. Any questions? Number 3.
How many points was that?
Oh, that one was also worth 2. Number 3 was also worth 2 points. Use a figure below to identify all the angles of rotational symmetry less than 360. So we're going to find out how many turns it takes to get back to that spot. Maps up once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, and at 5 times it gets back. What am I dividing by 5?
360.
Good.
Okay.
360 because a full turn is 360. Divided by 5 gives me 72. If you left it at 72, that earns you 1 point. You had to list them all less than 360.
Oh, then you multiply that by 2.
72, then 144,
Oh, okay.
then 216, 288. All I need to see with those 4, if you put 360, that's okay. It's not needed. You didn't have to draw it around the star. Just label those 4 numbers. Any questions? Number 4. Reflect the figure over the x-axis. Which is my x-axis?
The one going horizontal.
Right here. This one's an easy one because you count how many units away it is, and you just count the other side. Meaning h, 1, 2, 3. So you go 1, 2, 3 to give you h what? Prime. N is 2. So n prime is 2. G is on there, so it stays there. It becomes G prime. That one is worth 2. Once again, 1 for drawing it correctly, 1 for labeling it. Way too many people reflected over this line when it says the x-axis. You use the y-axis. Please make a note of that. Make sure we're ready. Any questions? Number 5, true and false. A rigid motion is a transformation in which a figure changes size and shape. What is it? False. Rigid motion means it keeps its size and shape, but it moves around the picture. A transformation is a function that changes the position, shape, and or size of a figure. That one is true. Transformation is that whole general term. You guys confuse transformation with translation a lot. Perpendicular lines form a 180-degree angle. What do they form? Good. A translation is not a type of rigid motion. It is. Number 6, a rotation 270 degrees counterclockwise about the origin. So remember, you draw the plus sign, that tells you how much you're rotating. Keyword here, counterclockwise, is going this way. 270 is how many turns?
3. Or 90 degrees clockwise.
3 turns. You can do the opposite, which is 90 degrees clockwise. So I'm going to turn 3 times. 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
And then you find those points. So you get Z prime, D prime. That's a U prime. And V prime. Once again, 2 points. 1 for drawing it correctly, 1 for notation. Number 7, the vector form. The component form of the vector, it's going to look like this. Your first number is how many you go in the x? 5. Second number is your y.
2.
That is your answer. 2 points. 1 point for number 8. Line symmetry means it can be cut basically in half and create a mirror. It's D. Because whatever's on one side is exactly the same as the other side. Number 9, the direction. Which one did I start at? Left or right? So 2 options, 90 degrees clockwise or what was the other one? Good. That was 1 point. Number 10, you must have drawn points with your line for me to tell that you did it correctly. A goes up 1, 2, 3, 4. And to the right, so it's up 4, to the right 2. What's half of each?
1 and 1.
2 and 1. So I'm going to go up 1, 2 over 1. That is my middle of A and A prime. Do it for another point. C and C prime. Up 4 to the right 2. It's half of each?
2, 1.
2, 1. So 1, 2 over 1. That is your middle. What do you do with those 2? You draw a line and you are done.
Was that one only worth a point too?
Yes. you need to have 2 points. One isn't enough. Also remember, that line is in the middle. Find out the distance or where it took to get there, and just find the middle of those two. That's what I just did. Definitions, I'm just going to list them all. You guys can study them. So H, C, D, G, K, A, B, F, I, E. Keep in mind, a lot of these terms are used throughout this quiz. Quiz 2 was worth a total of 20 points. Combinations, it wasn't just one, it was 2 or 3 things. But you had to do the notation correct as well. So number 1 said translation along vector V and then reflection across line out. This tells me 1 to the right, up 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4 over 1. What is that point called?
B prime.
B prime. This is C prime. And A prime. If you drew this step correct, I wasn't even checking notation yet. If you drew that step correct, you got 1 point. So plus 1 for the blue line.
Wait, so the A, which one was A?
Next step said reflection across this line. So B stays there, become B what?
B double prime.
Double prime. You just put 2 lines. C flips to over here to become C double prime. And then A double prime.
What? Okay.
This one here was 1 point for the red line. So add 1 more. And 1 point for notation.
So that was 3 questions.
Total 3 points. The whole front side. Each question is worth 3 points in the front.
What do you mean by red line?
That's not me.
Can you not see the red line?
I mean my red pen. Blue pen and red pen.
That's it.
You never told us about we get points for that?
180-degree rotation around point P, then translation along W. How many turns is 180? 2. So remember, it says point P, so you put the line on point P, and you can turn it around that point. That's 1. That's 2. It's again worth 1 point for this. Translation along W. Down 2 over 2. Make sure you use double prime. If you didn't, you lost points. Any questions? Moving on, number 3. Says dilation. So I start by drawing a table. Label it A, B, C.
This is number 3, right?
Yes. Where's my A point at?
0,
0, 3. Where's B?
0, 0,
And C?
0,
4,
4.
0.
Oh, 8.
We need to understand that this only applies to my y. I'm dividing my y values only by 3. Therefore, your x's stay the same. Your y. 3 divided by 3 is
1.
0 by 3
0.
and 0. Plot those three to give you 0, 1. A prime, B stays there, and C stays here. This says that only my y shrunk, as we can see in the picture. Stay the same length sideways, but only my y shrunk. Translate 4 down, 3 to the left. A double prime, B double prime, and C 1, 2, 3 double prime. Any questions? Although scoring is the same on the front. Number 4. 90 degrees clockwise, that's 1 turn.
Okay, when I got the whole thing, I didn't have it there.
So that's your rotation. Then it says a dilation.
Oh, I wrote that one. Boy, that's probably.
So here's the problem with this one. A lot of us use the original points again, when you should have used the new points. So what's my new, oh, I don't know why I used A, B, and C. What's my new K at?
2, negative 1.
Oh.
2, negative 1. H.
4, negative 1.
I.
4, negative 3.
And
2, negative 4.
J. I'm multiplying my x's by 1.5 and my y's by 2. This is what you would get. 3, negative 2. 6, negative 2. 6, negative 6. 3, negative 6. Plot those 4. Label correctly. And you're done. 5 and 6. On this quiz, I gave you the points for saying yes or no. On the test, I will not. For 5, it was 2 points each. You must show me that these numbers match. How many was that up? 6 and 1. 3 and 3. After showing me that, yes, by translation. That's enough for me. But you must show me these numbers, not just the loops. Loops aren't enough. Show me numbers. For number 6, 2 points again. Show me that the numbers don't match. 1, 2, 3 and a half and 2. This one is about 1, 2 and a half. 1 and a half.
So number 5, can I say it like that? Or do I have to say it by?
That's fine. And so number 6, you just put not congruent. I have to show me that one side does not match. And then you are done. Number 7 and 8, since there are different possibilities. Let me just note this. This is where you start. That's where you start, and the second one is where you finish. Since there are different possibilities, I'm going to state the most used and the most simplified method. If you got points, you got points. Each of these are 2 points each. From start to finish, reflect across y-axis. You must be that specific, not just reflection. And then translate. You can write it in any form you want, but it's down 3. For number 2, rotate 90 degrees counterclockwise or 270 clockwise. Then translate to the right 6. The 2 most commonly used answers for this problem. So now on this practice test, 14. Reflect first. Over the line, y equals 2. You find 2 on your y. Right there. You find 2 on your y. It will be a horizontal line. Use that little study note sheet thing that I did on the board that gave you a picture of every single style of graph. Review those. Make sure you understand what it means to be y equals 2. And it's different than x equals 2. What's different than x-axis and y-axis.
What's your focus?
And the y equals x and y equals negative x.
It's kind of like opposite. So like if y would equal 2, it'd be horizontal.
So really quick, I'll draw them all. Y equals a number. Would be on that number, horizontal. X equals a number. Will be on that number, vertical. Y-axis. That one there. You can kind of see it. X-axis. That one there. Y equals x. Positive slope of 1/1. Y equals negative x. A negative slope of 1/1.
Okay.
Reflection over this line. If R is up here, it ends down here. K ends here. A is 1, 2, 3, so 1, 2, 3. Then reflect over the y-axis. Y is this one here. Reflect over here to give you D here, D double prime, A double prime, R double prime, and K double prime. This is your final answer. For 13, you create your table. So that's all listed for me. Where was my, oh, it tells you here. A is at -6, 4. B is at -4, 2. C is at -2, 2. What's happening first for my x and my y's?
They're being, they're turning into numbers.
These negatives. It doesn't mean that they're turning negative, because if it's negative, it's already negative.
So it'd be positive.
It just changes its sign. Becomes positive and then a negative. This becomes positive, that positive becomes a negative. Next, what's happening to my x's?
They are being added.
Added by 4. So 6 becomes 10, 4 becomes 8, 2 becomes 6. And my y's?
They are being subtracted.
So what's negative 4 and negative 2?
Negative 6,
Negative 2 and negative 2?
negative 4,
Negative 2 and negative 2 is so negative 4. And lastly, what's happening to my x and my y's?
they are being cut in half.
Cut in half, divided by 2. This becomes 5, negative 3, 4, negative 2, 3, negative 2. With these points, you list them, you plot them, you're done. Before I do that though, if this is A prime, A double prime, A triple prime. 5, negative 3, 4, negative 2, 3, negative 2. A, B, and C.
Right.
That whole thing for a tiny image.
Problem. Oh,